I'm 100% satisfied with this program. Now I feel that definitely I made a great decision. The outcome of that onboarding, right? The resume is excellent. I'm 100% satisfied with it. I'm going to like any of my friends reach out to me for like executive type of role, like senior manager, director and above. Definitely without any hesitation, I will refer Varun.
Conversation with our client Sarab, who was finding himself stuck at a manager level at FedEx. They approached us in one of the toughest job markets for software engineering leadership roles. As he shares in this video, he was very hesitant before signing up for our services and asked us so many questions. He then took a leap of faith with us. He underscores how structured approach helped him plan interviews, open doors for the conversations, and how those interview prep sessions helped him position himself at the director level, something that he was not so confident about before. He ended up landing 2 offers with our help within the same month. So without further ado, let's crack right into it.
Get into it. Overall, I'm 100% satisfied with this program. Because looking back now, after a lot of hesitation, even I feel bad now spending for my career. And I was thinking a lot because I had some family situation too. I spent a lot of time and took the decision. Now I feel that definitely I made a great decision of connecting with you and be part of this program. And definitely I'm going to like any of my friends reach out to me for like executive type of role, like senior manager, director and above. Definitely without any hesitation, I will refer Varun. And your partner, what is his name? I forgot. Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a fantastic conversation with him initially that he also like convinced, and I think he's a good find. I think very professional and he knows how to make the conversion. So I had a good conversation to start. I'm going to first cover all the positive aspects. So I felt the onboarding was very good, Varun. It took a while, but the outcome of that onboarding, right? The resume is excellent. I'm 100% satisfied with it. And also in the process, I learned that even my input is also really important because whoever helping from your team, they may not know everything. But the onboarding questions about the situation, and I couldn't recollect, but there are some good questions available, and that really made me to like think through it and come up with all the stories, and based on that, a good resume was built actually. So it took a, and in terms of the tool, Varun, the Notion tool, right? Initially, it was a little bit challenging for me, but afterwards, it's like it's like a spreadsheet, like.
And so it takes like about a month at least for somebody to get used to, hey, I have to update this field or that field and things like that. We're trying to automate as much of that as possible, but like very well taken point, because like that is a issue that other folks have also mentioned. So thanks.
On the same note, in the tool, right, there are like multiple steps involved in the life cycle, right? Apply the job, send an email version, send a LinkedIn version, and whether it got approved. There are multiple things are there. I think initially because of the tool, right, maybe otherwise my lack of knowledge, I don't know, I missed certain things. That's why some kind of disconnect or communication issue. But later I connected with Karan or Sarthak, I forgot who. They really helped me to like walk me through to understand. I got a good input. For example, I applied for a senior director at the Home Depot. That was the pay range was very high. I didn't even get a call. Then they told that, hey, let's target like 200 to 250. That's a good suggestion from the team. So I really liked it. And because that tells that, right, they know what works for a particular person and what will not work. That one. And also prompt responses I got. Sometimes included you and sometimes I reached out to them like in person. Immediately I got response. So going back, I'm combining both, Varun, right? Positive and opportunities. The another opportunity I think is the messages what they're giving initially. The same messages used for email and also LinkedIn. I felt that for LinkedIn it's a very long, the same email message. I think later they changed the strategy. After that, the messages have been concise, and so that's one thing. And also, initially, were a lot of jobs being added. I don't know. After that, it got slowed down. I don't know. Maybe because I'm staying there for a longer time because of that.
I see. Yeah. So that's a fair observation. Initially, we test out a lot, and then eventually we start finding like, hey, these are the kind of jobs that are working. So we start narrowing down. And I feel like that should be communicated better. That like, hey, if you see a drop in the kind of role that you were liking out of that like broad test category, then let us know. Because to be honest, like we have clients on like all sorts of spectrum. That there are clients who are adding like 50 roles a week, versus there are clients for whom we add like 10 roles, and out of those maybe there's one role that they want to apply. So it's kind of like that. But eventually, team likes to operate like a learning machine, where like, hey, the more I learn about you, the better and better I want to get.
After your India training, I definitely saw a big difference in the.
I
Sorry, he
see.
called me and he told that he motivated me, told that hey, that's okay. And some customers immediately getting jobs, some people are waiting. I really liked it. I think I already mentioned to you,
Mm.
Varun. I don't know what magic you did. So I think more and more such kind of training and empowering them. So
Yeah.
definitely they're going to be a big asset for you. And another thing is supported me until the end, right?
Mm.
Out of all these things, Varun, the biggest positive and what I like overall from this program is the one-on-one coaching with you, Varun.
I see.
Star story is what I brought in. And
Mm.
initially, if you remember, it was scripted and going right. You only changed me. I think in my entire that journey, I
Mm.
don't think so. Anybody would point it out in such a way that I realize what mistake I'm making and correct it. If you remember one of the stories I was, then you told that they make it conversational, make it like how you speak to somebody, right? I think
Mm.
that is a big game changer for me. I started adapting, and so thank you so much for your help and helping me to change the strategy and how I talk.
Yeah, I loved our conversation, especially around that interview prep, because, and this might not be something that is like where somebody tell it commonly, but what I loved about that is like in that dynamic, you were the persistent one. Usually, like whenever I like in most cases, like I'm the persistent one. We're like, hey, let's do this, let's do this. So that was so refreshing to see. And to be honest, like I loved it because like you would very proactively like book calls and like, hey, give me feedback. And what I particularly loved about that, like my feedback was never like, hey, I'm trying to kind of like tell you the positives and kind of like layer in the negative in between and then tell you the positives, kind of sandwich that feedback. To you, I was just like able to be very raw, like quickly call out like, hey, this is not something that you're doing right, let's fix this, let's try to do it. You would actually do that. Then you would later send me out a voice note like, hey, this is my adapted story, like the so like that participation alone, when you start seeing somebody's progress, to me it brought a lot of meaning into, hey, like, you know what, this is actually going in the right direction. And then eventually perhaps that's also something that help you out in the interviews. You can connect more with the hiring managers and all of that, because that little thing becomes such a big driver in terms of especially like leadership interviews. This is the person I'm going to talk to on a daily basis. Can I have a real conversation with them? And if that happens, then that's pretty much golden. But into another important thing that I would love to call out, the space you are in is like so very competitive that throughout that like process we were doing. And to be honest, I still maintain, I understand like how much research you did before joining our services. You had so many questions, you asked them, and we talked through those and all of that. And when you did eventually sign on, and then there was like, so I mean, with the space you were in, like it, I was nervous too, but like, hey, like I hope this works out soon. And eventually it did. Of course, I was not nervous in the sense that like, hey, nothing would work out, but it gives you a sense of like, hey, the Sarab has put a lot of trust in us. We got to make it work. And
Mhm.
so that's the and magic that I did with Sarthak was just that. Like, hey, somebody like of all the things they could try in the world, of all the like, we say this with utmost humility, that they chose us. And that shows us, and despite so many getting so many rejections, they're continuing to work with us, they're continuing to trust your process. So where is it that we can do our best? Where is it perhaps like they are probably getting demotivated because you're doing so much and you're getting so little? But that's the nature of the market. What are some of the things we can fix on all areas so we can start making this better? And that's perhaps like people understanding the why behind like why they are doing what they're doing, and that may have been the thing.
Sure, sure, Varun. And another thing, Varun, when I talk about you, I don't know, somehow I told you this, you have some charisma, right? You know, people feel attracted towards you. I don't
I
know
see.
whether you realize that. So definitely, I like you're a great leader, Varun. So definitely, I'm sure this model is great, actually.
Mhm.
The process, what we are doing, I'm sure it will work out. I'm sure you will, I mean, definitely reach the height, whatever you wanted to reach.
No, 100%. And I'm clearly like, I asked you and you said like, hey, you loved the model. Anything in particular? Like, so this is what I ask is, what of all the things, like what were some of the things that you especially found of value? So like maybe it's the done for you nature, maybe it's perhaps the expertise or insights that we bring into the market, maybe it's the process that we follow, maybe it's just like we continue following that process to the end. Could be anything, like but I would love to hear from you, like at a very high level, what were some of the most valuable things?
The real value are two things. Number one, the process itself, Varun, right? Because it takes a lot of time to identify who's the hiring manager. Sometimes it may click, we may reach out to the right hiring manager.
Mm.
Even if not right with the process, right? You're reaching out to somebody. I saw sometimes they told they are not the right person. They forwarded me to the right hiring manager. So I feel the unique selling point here is the process. Because we're operating at scale, right? Every week, 50 companies are reaching out and coming up with a script, reaching out to the people who somebody who's really invested, committed, right? This is a great program. For me, that's what I was lacking.
I see.
And right out of the 50 reach out, right? I don't know, only like 2 or 3 is going to turn out. Then from there, I can pick it up. See, the best example is Erie Insurance. I found the job and added, but I got the call because of the email what I sent to the recruiter. If I would have done it alone, I wouldn't know like who's the recruiter because I literally saw I applied it and then after a week I reached out to the recruiter. Immediately on the same day she replied back telling the day we are scheduling for the interview. Otherwise I wouldn't have got the director job at
I
AD.
see.
So the process is the best thing I see around. And definitely this model will work out, especially if people are in busier people. Definitely it will work out. And the second thing is, as I said, right, the one-on connection I had with you and you helped me to tweak the stories. That is another big thing I got out of this program. Because now got 2 offers in this market, right? Very confident now, right? After maybe 18 months or 2 years, definitely I make use of your service again, maybe target at different roles. And I'm confidently I can take interviews because the Lowe's interviews, when I answered, tell something about yourself, they clearly told, looks like you are very experienced in tell something about yourself. That's what people actually, literally, that's a comment I got actually.
I
So,
see. That's that was good, good rehearsal, then like a good practice, I guess we
yeah.
did. That's good. That's good. I'm very happy that genuinely I'm very happy that not only did it work out for you, but it like worked out for you after it had already worked out for you. So you already got an offer, then on top of that you got another offer which you, and that wasn't more in alignment. The location is more in alignment. Like you had a good feeling about it, so you chose that. I have a good feeling about like you going into Lowe's, and then of course like once the onboarding happens, like you join into the new role. I would love to catch up and see like how things are going.
And regarding this, right, I'm leaving a director opportunity and going to Lowe's. That's what sometimes
I would say while the title may be different, sometimes it's just the scope that makes it much more better. The that you'd be working on makes it much better. And maybe one at a director level, you perhaps may have had more autonomy. You might have more autonomy or over certain particular scope and like, but more exposure to even more competent individuals as well. And sometimes that is like the people you're surrounded with. If it's a strong technology organization, and sometimes that autonomy is always not so good because if you're exposed to people who are much more competitive as well, and since Lowe's is a competitive organization, that adds up to your growth as well. And to be honest, as you move, you'd see like recruiters also know what's the culture of a particular company is, and that kind of plays into it. There's a reason why, like even if like God knows who's a great performer at Amazon or not, but like people who have worked at Amazon, recruiters are generally biased to go for those. So there's a general sense of culture that hey, our bet would be right if we choose that person, you know.
yeah, with that hope, I'm going, Varun. Again, as I said, probably after 18 months, let's see how things goes. I'll keep posted, Varun.
100%.
And Varun, one more thing, your LinkedIn messages are great. Keep doing it, Varun. And some of the videos I really enjoyed how things are. I mean, you gave some tips about the market statistics and what kind of role they're looking for, and also the career stagnation, right? Either move horizontally and get more exposure, right? Or either move out of the company. I don't know how you're getting those information. Those are very relevant. Somebody can easily, if you ask me being in FedEx, moved across different areas and I want to move out of FedEx and what I am going through, that's really relevant to me actually,
I
right?
see.
Somebody in that position, definitely it will create some sort of provide more insights for them to take action, or I feel it will create some sort of fear. Oh, I'm stagnant for a long time. Oh, okay, I have to take some action.
To be honest, why it's so relevant, I'll tell you the inside story about like why it's so relevant. At this point, I have spoken probably to 2,500, 3,000 people on phone directly one-on-one, just to make the business. And they all tell the story. And every time they tell the story, I was just like writing, okay, this is like I have like this big a stack of notebooks just filled with all of those. We digitize those over time. We digitize those, kind of like saw patterns and see like, okay, these are the typical pressing issues in the market. Pretty much like problems where they're coming from. These are the problems of individuals that they want help with. Approach definitely is ours, like, hey, if you have this problem, these are some of the things that we have seen to work. Because on the other side of it, like, we have seen some of the folks who rose very rapidly, and I'm like, so what do you think worked for you? Okay, let me write that down. So that's pretty much like what's happening. I'm just a exchanger of that information, but with our own like learnings along the way. But glad that like that was relevant to you, that glad that like it's resonating with a lot of folks. I mean, perhaps like that's what I want to maintain is like that rawness in that. I don't want our brand voice to become vanilla or just like talking about random things, but like keep it more specific to the real
Sure.
people. Yeah.
And the first thing, right, when I reached out to you, what made me to reach out to you is your video. I think a small office, and then they were giving, there is a 10 minutes video.
Yeah.
The words were popping up. I really like that video. That prompted me to take the next step.
Oh yeah, that was it. That's also the humble
Website is
beginnings.
the number I found, right? That's
Yeah.
one thought maybe this is the right one to move forward.
Oh, that's helpful. Thanks a lot. Like, thanks a lot for not for just kind words, but like an objective and overall like your experience. Glad you liked it, and glad you made it to where you are. Would definitely love to keep in touch, Saraf. And yeah, I wish you the best. Let me know how the onboarding goes.
I'll keep you posted.
Perfect. I wish you the best. All right. All right. Bye bye.